live. We are live on Canadian Yorker's YouTube channel today, and we're going to be talking to you guys about. We're going to be talking about football today, not American football, not at the NFL football, but instead we're going to be talking about soccer football. So, in the description box of this live stream, I have included two articles that we're going to be discussing and reading over today and talking about there's two different teams. The first team that I guess we're going to cover is the team of China's Chinese national soccer team. I'm going to be getting into an article about the Chinese national soccer team, and the second part of this live stream, I'm going to be talking about Argentina. So, without further ado, let's get into this live stream. Let's get into this discussion about the um, Chinese national soccer team. So, there's an article here posted in the description box, and it is on the Chinese national team. So, it's on BBC.com. I might have the wrong article, but basically, in the title, this was written 6 or 7 days ago, about a week ago. So it's March 26th. Um, so here it says here, China's dream of becoming a football superpower lies in tatters. Um, this is all for all the soccer fans out there. This live stream is for you. So reading here, it says, on a hot, humid Thursday in Saitama, China's national football team hit its lowest ebb. With a minute left on the clock and trailing Japan 6-0, Chinese defenders were likely wishing for the sweet relief of the final whistle. Excuse me. But Japan's Takefusa Kubo was not feeling charitable. After watching his teammates toy with their opponents for a while, he received a pass on the edge of the Chinese box and rammed home Japan's seventh goal. The ball rocketed into the roof of the net, and the man known as the Japanese Messi condemned China to their worst ever defeat in a World Cup qualifier. Um, the 7-0 spanking of September, described as rock bottom by Shanghai-based newspaper, followed followed a year-long line of humiliating defeats, which included losses to Oman, Uzbekistan, and Hong Kong. So, as we have it here, the Chinese, we now know that the Chinese national soccer team has not qualified for the World Cup, and so they are out of the contention. They lost to Japan 7-0. Um, just as akin to what happened to Brazil. I know I don't want to bring that up, but Brazil, if anyone remembers what happened in the World Cup, and Brazil had hosted the World Cup on its home stage, Brazil lost to Germany 7-0 in a whooping that was for the ages. So it really was. I mean, so the same thing happened to China. Here, China got whipped by Japan, and not only Japan but Oman, Uzbekistan, and Hong Kong, of all places, which is of course a city in its own country. So, but continuing the article here, it says that the worst was yet to come. A week later, dozens of players, coaches, and administrators were arrested for gambling, match fixing, and bribery as part of a 2-year probe into corruption in the domestic game. Hello to everybody who are coming in from all over the world. Hello to everybody from the UK, wherever you're from. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Canadian Yorker. Oh yes, Eid, happy Eid Mubarak. I believe today's the last day. It's been Ramadan for all Muslims out there, and I believe today might be the last day of Ramadan. I don't, if I'm not mistaken, you might want to correct me on that. Um, but continuing, um, so dozens of players, coaches, and administrators were arrested for gambling, match fixing, and bribery as part of a 2-year probe into corruption in the domestic game. And the defeats have continued. On Tuesday, Australia beat China 2-0 in Guangzhou, cementing them at the bottom of their World Cup qualifying group. It wasn't long before that China had dreamed of becoming a football conquering superpower. Um, the world's largest population, a thriving economy, and a determined Communist Party led by an avid football fan, President Xi Jinping. What could go wrong? Apparently, a lot went wrong. Um, so, continuing the article, when Xi Jinping came to power in 2012, his love for the sport of football spurred a drive to reform and improve the Chinese football. His dream, he had once said, was for China to qualify for the World Cup hosted and ultimately win it. These were his three wishes. But a decade later, even President Xi Jinping seemed to have lost the faith. While making a small talk with Thailand's prime minister on the sidelines of an international summit in 2023, the Chinese president was heard saying that China had got lucky in a recent victory against Thailand. Um, Mark Dreyer, a Beijing sports writer, said, when China's government puts its mind to something, it very rarely fails. Look at electric vehicles, look at the Olympics, practically any sector you can think of, China is right up there. But football, it seems, could not thrive in the grip of the Chinese Communist Party. A key government report in 2015 noted that the Chinese Football Association, known as the CFA, must have legal autonomy and should be independent of the General Administration of Sport, otherwise known as GAS. Even President Xi admitted that if China wanted to succeed, then the party would have to do what it seldom does, let go. It had to let go. And yet Beijing didn't let go. Ronan Simone's author of The Bamboo Goalposts, one man's quest to teach the People's Republic of China to love football, told the BBC, quote, China's failure in football has become a national embarrassment, and figuring out the reasons it has become a national obsession. But to me, the reasons are pretty clear, and they tell you a lot about how the country is run. The problem, he and others argue, is that China's one-party state imposes decisions from the top. While this is effective for economic growth, it yields poor results in competitive team sports. Although FIFA prohibits state interference, Chinese football is rife with political appointments. This is common in China, where the party controls most aspects of public life. The current president of the CFA, Song Kai, is also known as a deputy secretary of the Chinese Communist Party. His work, in turn, is overseen by a senior government official at the GAS, also known as the, I just had the name of it, also known, anyway, continuing, I was trying to find where I left off. Yes, everything also said, quote unquote, everything has to report upwards to Chinese Communist Party bosses. It basically means that non-football people are making football decisions. Mr. Dreyer says football has to be grassroots led. You start at the bottom of the pyramid, and the talent starts to funnel up to the top. Quote unquote. All major football nations have a pyramid of leagues. The elite professional clubs sit at the top, supported by a deep pool of semi-professional and amateur teams, all of whose players are vying to work their way up. Such a pyramid thrives in a culture of playing football en masse for fun. The larger pool to draw from, the better the players at the top will be. So Mr. Simmons also says, quote, if you look at every country where football is really successful, the sport has grown organically as a grassroots activity over the past 100 years. Professional football in China has continually failed. It's supported by nothing. Their pyramid is upside down. The statistics bear this out. England's 1.3 million registered players dwarf China's fewer than 100,000 footballers. And this is in spite of China's population being 20 times larger than England. Mr. Dreyer said also, kids here don't grow up with a ball at their feet. Without that, you're not going to produce elite talent. Top level football in England and South America traces its origins to streets and parks in every town and village. In China, the push began in Beijing. It wasn't until the 1990s that the government set up the country's first professional league. It created a handful of top clubs in major cities, but neglected the grassroots. Keen to impress their bosses, officials in this top-down system inevitably opt for a short-termist approach that sacrifices genuine improvement over the time for quick fixes. Mr. Dreyer explains. Some foreigners who have played in China say system, such a heavily controlled system also leaves a little room for young players to develop a natural understanding of the game. And the European currently playing in China who did not wish to reveal his name told the BBC that while many Chinese players are technically good, they lack fundamental football IQ at crucial moments on the pitch. Um, the player said, quote, creativity and basic decision making, which we learn instinctively as a kid, you don't see much here. Continuing, article says here, this does not mean that there is not a deep love for football in China. While the men's team currently ranked 90th in the world is seen as a constant disappointment, the women's team, however, is ranked 17th, has been a source of pride for years. Many in China have referred to them as a real national team. And in 2023, a record 53 million people tuned in to watch them play and lose 6-1 to England at the World Cup. As the men's Super League boasts the highest average attendance of any league in Asia. At its peak in the 2010s, it was attracting big-name foreign players as it rode a wave of investments from state-owned enterprises buoyed by a thriving economy, but it was short-lived. Since the pandemic and the subsequent economic slowdown in China, more than 40 professional clubs have folded as its state-backed companies started to pull their investments. Private companies too have proved fickle in their commitment. In 2015, the Suning Appliance Group, which also used to own the top Italian club Inter Milan, bought Jiangsu FC. The club went on to win the Super League in 2020. But months later, Suning said they were closing the club to focus on their retail business. The demise of the Guangzhou Evergrande, China's most successful team ever, is yet another example. Bankrolled by property giant Evergrande Group, they won the trophy after trophy under the management of Italian great sitters such as Marcello Lippi and Fabio Cannavaro. But as soon as they found glory at home and in Asia, the parent group was overstretching itself in an inflated property market. Evergrande is now the world's most indebted property company and the poster child for China's real estate crisis, with arrears of more than $300 billion. Its former club, now in the hand of new owners, was expelled from the league in January. After years of splurging, the 8-time champions are still struggling to pay off the debt. But that is not the only crisis engulfing Chinese football. Its rapid rise created another problem: corruption. So Li Te, the former manager of China's national team, said in 2024, I'm just trying to find where I left off. I should have followed the right path, quote unquote. I was just doing what was customary at the time. In the documentary, Li Te makes a shocking admission. For years, he fixed matches and paid bribes to get certain jobs, including 3 million won. That's about $418,500 in US dollars, to become the national team coach in 2019. Dressed in all black, he marks a written confession with an inky fingerprint. I'm very sorry. China's national team was made to watch the documentary by the state broadcaster CCTV while preparing for last year's Asian Cup in Qatar. The primetime expose, co-produced by the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection (CCDI), was the first episode of a 4-part series on corruption in China called Continued Efforts Deepening Progress. In it, dozens of Chinese officials confess always to camera to staggering amounts of corruption across a variety of industries. By airing the football episode first, the authorities signaled their serious concern about graft within the sport. Li Te, who appeared in the World Cup and once played for the Premier League, side Everton is the most high-profile figure to have been apprehended last year in unprecedented slow of anti-corruption arrests in Chinese football. In December, he was arrested, 20 years in jail. Also publicly shamed in the documentary are former CFA chairman Chen Shu-huan and ex-deputy director of TDAS Du Zhaokai. Um, one fan said, the corruption of these officials has broken our hearts. I'm not surprised, said another. The documentary echoed what one ex-national team told a BBC radio documentary in 2015 in an anonymous interview, that there was a system of open bidding among players for their spot in the squad. I could have worn many more caps, but I didn't have the cash, he said. It would take another 10 years before corruption in football exploded into the spotlight. Some suggest this was prompted by China's intolerably bad performances on the pitch. The struggles of China's men's football team are the more stink given how other sports are flourishing in the country. Decades of investment in infrastructure and training have taken China from a sporting backwater to a medal winning machine that recently equaled the United States with 40 goals at the Paris Olympics. But many of these individual sports, weightlifting, swimming, diving, which require fewer resources and crucially less emphasis, are community led grassroots efforts compared to a game like football. They are also less lucrative and therefore less vulnerable to corruption and mismanagement. As China's economy reels from a sustained downturn, its officials have bigger challenges than football woes. But that is a little consolation to fans. The loss to Japan has particularly stung. While Japan has gone on from strength to strength over the last 2 decades, China has failed to qualify for a single World Cup. The day after the loss, the Oriental Sports Daily did not mince its words, which when it said, quote, when the taste of bitterness reaches its extreme, all that is left is numbness. According to Mr. Dreyer, Japan's approach is antithetical to China's, allowing to envision a lack of political interference and a commercially savvy club structure. Even so, the fan culture here in Japan is still remarkably good, he adds. They deserve so much more. The disappointment showed following Tuesday's defeat against Australia, but so did the humor. It seems like the national team's performance is as consistent as it is ever, but one fan on social media. Another joked that if China was to continue thriving economically, then this football team must suffer so that there is a balance in national fortune. Perhaps they had resigned themselves to what a popular Chinese journalist had written in his blog after Japan beat China. Football cannot be boosted by singing odes or telling stories, he noted. It needs skill and physical and tactical training. It cannot be accomplished through politics. Very interesting article written here about Japan, about China's dream to become a global superpower in soccer. So, a lot of interesting things you learn about from reading articles from all over the world. Uh, there's always something new to learn, and that's something I did not know. Apparently, sports is got its fingers in sports, and I mean politics has its sports and fingers in China. Um, so it's really interesting, kind of knowing about that. I don't know much about China. I've never been to China, but it's definitely interesting to learn something new about that part of the world. Even though I don't live there, I don't live in the United States. I don't live in that country. So maybe one day we will see China come out of this slump that they're in and get themselves back on the right track to one day become a power in soccer. Maybe that will happen one day. We don't know, but I'm sure once they definitely get their hands, the politics gets its hands out of that sport, out of the sport of soccer in China, then they will be able to compete with the rest of the world. And like the article says, soccer is very led from the bottom up. It's a bottom up structure, and they really need that bottom up level of training and expertise that they have to get that for their team and for the. I mean, if the women's soccer team can do really well and compete on the World Cup stage, then so can the men's soccer team as well. Um, let's get into this second article. I don't want to keep this too long, so we're gonna get into the second article here. And in this second article, it's talking about Lionel Messi. Of course, he is a World Cup champion, and he won it for Argentina. So let's just get into this article. It says this article is written from the um, Mirror.com, and this was written last week as well, uh, March 26, 2025. I know this might be a little late, about a week late, but I wanted to talk about this because Lionel Messi is from Argentina and he loves his country. So Lionel Messi, it says here in the article title, Lionel Messi can't resist slide dig at Brazil as Argentina revels in the World Cup qualifying win. So getting into this here, it says into Miami's Lionel Messi took to his Instagram story to take a subtle swipe at Barcelona and Brazil star Rafinha following Argentina's 4-1 win over Brazil, the South American rivals, on Tuesday last week. So it says here, Lionel Messi may not have been on the field with his Argentinian teammates in person, but he was there in spirit, watching from afar as they sealed their 2026 FIFA World Cup berth with a decisive 4-1 win against Brazil. The game had been an emotional affair, thanks in no part to Brazil's Rafinha, who added an extra touch with the motivation for their opponents with some bold claims in an interview with soccer icon Romero. We will beat them, no doubt, on and off the pitch if we have to, the Barcelona star said. If this wasn't bad enough, Rafinha was insistent that he would score, telling Romero yes with everything, prompting the 59-year-old to bizarrely reply to, I'd say, the F them, which Rafinha agreed as per Talk Sport. Of course, Rafinha didn't end up making his mark on the score sheet, with Argentinian players making sure to tell him exactly what they thought of his comments after a final whistle in a tense on-field exchange. As for Messi, he took the high road on an Instagram story, commenting, inside, outside, wherever with this national team, always talking about football. Congratulations on the great game you've played last night, and also on to the win against Uruguay. Messi was forced to miss both Brazil and Uruguay games after suffering a minor hip injury in Inter Miami's recent 2-1 win at Atlanta United. The game marked the Argentines' first comeback in starting 11 in almost 3 weeks. Head coach Javier Mascherano repeatedly insisted Messi had not been dealing with an injury during his absence, and explains that they simply wanted to manage the load on the 37-year-old's shoulders ahead of what will be a congested season for Miami. Messi ultimately made his return to action in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, coming off the bench in Jamaica as they beat Cavalier 2-0, with Barcelona legend scoring in the 92nd minute. Exactly when Messi will make his Miami comeback once again remains unclear. However, he was spotted participating in warm-ups during his side's training session on Tuesday, perhaps leaving the door open for a swift return. As for his international returns, Messi's next shot at earning his 192nd cap for Argentina will come in early June, with Lionel Scaloni's side scheduled to head for Chile on the 4th before a home game against Ecuador 5 days in their latest World Cup qualifiers. As for Scaloni, following Tuesday's win, he publicly forgave Rafinha for his comments, as he believed he didn't do it on purpose. He's defending his country, as per Fabrizio Romano said. I'm completely sure he didn't mean to hurt anyone, Scaloni added, going on to say, "You didn't play like this because of that," quote unquote. Whatever it was that motivated the reigning World Cup champions and helped them become just the seventh team to secure qualification for the 2026 World Cup tournament in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Their Scaloni side will look to become the first team since Brazil in 1958 and 1962 to win back-to-back titles. So guys, there we got it. Against some information on what's going on with Argentina. Argentina definitely responded to us talking of Rafinha, and Brazil is saying that they're gonna beat Argentina and qualify for the World Cup. However, that did not happen, and Argentina just beat the brakes off Brazil in a 4-1 win over them. Um, and Argentina also qualifies for the World Cup. And next up, they're going to be facing Uruguay and Chile. Um, so they have they got the work cut out for them to be able to face the next opponents. We're going to see what's going to be the next step for Argentina going forward in the World Cup. And I'm pretty sure they're going to make the World Cup because they are the world champions. Um, they have a lot of work cut out for them to be able to repeat as champions. It's not easy to repeat, but are they going to be? Can they do it? I'm sure they can. They can definitely do it. It's very much possible for them to make it happen. Um, but let's see what's going to happen with our team of Argentina. If Argentina does repeat, that would be pretty great for the country of Argentina. But there are other teams out there that can definitely give them a run for their money. So I just wanted to bring this live stream. We're going to be closing this live stream, bringing this to a close, and I just wanted to bring these two articles to your attention, talking about the Chinese national team first in this first half of this live stream, and then the second half. Just wanted to bring the news to you about Argentina and the what Messi said about Argentina, and he's glad that Argentina is qualified for the World Cup. So that's great for them going forward. So guys, just wanted to bring this news to you. I'll see you guys in the next live stream, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good rest of your evening.